Deconverted Man here. NAI61A, who often comments on various videos I make, asked this question that is one that has to be responded to in length. And I could just type a text response, but I thought, they've given me their time and attention many times in comments, and I enjoy that. So I thought I would make a video responding to their YouTube question/comment rather than just typing it. Although I'm gonna this. So yeah, this is what this is. So this is in response to my video that is a response to the Invoking Theisms video, Arguments Evidence, which I looked at a second time. And the second time he was still as wrong as the first time as that I looked at him and his video, and his arguments still not existent, and arguments are still not evidence. The question at hand of whether or not you have to be absolutely certain in your premises to have a certain conclusion is a good question, leading to how do syllogism works and the Bayes Theorem. So logic in and of itself it's a tool, and you use it to determine whether a given idea is something that's worth your time or not. So you could have a couple analogies here. Let's say you had a used car salesman and you asked them, what reasons are there should I, to me buying this car? And, it's got great gas mileage. It was hardly ever used, whatever. And you go, okay, well, do you have evidence of those things? Because you've made several claims. It's great gas mileage. It's hardly been used. So I need the evidence. Because the argument by itself might not be persuasive. But what if they could give you a valid and sound argument in and of itself? Well, but how do you know the premises are true or even plausibly true? And that's where Bayes' theorem comes in. Now, I'm no mathematician. I'm just an amateur logician. But Bayes' theorem is this really kind of overly complicated mathematical formula, but it's one you can reduce down to talk about likelihood and percentages and is this thing plausibly true? Is it actually true? How many times have we observed it to be true? So one thing you could do with it is say, well, 100 supernatural claims have been made, but those have been refuted. And not a single one of them has survived a reliable test. So what is the likelihood that the 101st supernatural claim to be made will then be true? So you do this formula where you plug in the values. It's 0 plus 1 divided by, I can't, 0 plus 1 over 100 plus 2 equals 1 out of 100. So basically it's a 1 in 102 chance, basically. I like I said, I can't really tell you how the Bayesian thing works exactly, and this video isn't meant to do that. I'm going to be working on a video that does that, where I get somebody to help me with this, maybe Math Pig, because he knows math, right? But at any rate, so the chance that it's going to be true is very, very, very low. And then you can add other factors to that to get an even more certain or uncertain result. So how many times how many times has it been known, for example, that an argument is the evidence, and you could maybe bring up court cases, and you say, well, those, is that the similar situation to what we have now? Is the argument that the lawyer or lawyers are presenting, is that actually evidence, or is it just persuasive statements that they're making? So what do we mean by evidence? So once we get to that, we go, well, it seems that the likelihood or the actual numbers don't pan out. The amount of times that an argument has been actually evidence in and of itself is zero. So that's it. So it's zero, you don't have any likelihood, so it's not true. But you could have probabilistic premises that then lead up to a high degree of certainty. So you don't have to necessarily have absolute certainty in the premise. And some might even say that absolute certainty is impossible except in math itself. And even there, well, I don't know, because again, I'm not a mathematician. So if you could construct a set of ideas of what's contained, what would be required for supernatural claim to be true. So how often has it been that we know about that natural things have explained things that we thought were supernatural? And you say, well, every single time. So let's say, just give, you could even give a very small number. You could say 10 times. And how many times have we seen the supernatural? And you might say, well, once. Okay, so you have a 1 in 10 odds that this actually happened, But then you add other things too. You go, well, how many times have the claim was written down and not recorded in any other way has it shown to be true? And then that's another, and then you add more and more to it. So the likelihood either goes down or it goes up. The number of times I've seen the if I turn my switch one way, that the light goes on, and then I turn my switch the other way, my light goes off. Therefore, if I turn my switch the same way, it should go on. Like with a car. If I turn the key, the number of times that my car has started is significantly higher to the amount of times that my car has not started. And so, I have a high degree of certainty in regards to the thought process of, if I turn, when I turn the key, my car starts. I turn my key, my car should start. So really, though, what we would want to do is expand that argument and say, well, the majority of times that I've started my car, it has started. But it might be the case that your car has started every single time. You haven't had it yet where it has failed you. And so in that case, then the argument wouldn't have to be changed at all. So you can make probabilistic statements that don't have to be certain and get to a conclusion that you're pretty certain of, without the premises being absolutely known to be true. But if you do this within logic, usually you're going to come up with a hypothetical syllogism, or you're going to have to do something like show how it is correct within the Bayes Theorem. I believe Richard Carrier did a wonderful lecture about this, and I'll see if I can find the link for that and put it in the description. And in reference to how this theorem can be basically used to deduce out the likelihood of any event actually of occurring. And so he applies it to history. And like, well, how many times in history has somebody claimed to be risen from the dead, but that turned out to be just a myth? And then here's a claim, Christianity is just one more claim that's being made, no matter that the Christians want to treat it specially. It's just one more claim that's been made. But then how likelihood is that chance that their claim is actually true, given that we know every other claim has turned out not to be true, even according to them, right? So, even if it's a small number, it still winds up with a very low probability that their claim is true. So that takes more work than a hypothetical syllogism. The Bayes theorem, you have to know something about math and probabilities, and you actually have to plug into things, and you actually have to, show all that and explain all that and understand all that. Things that I've not done in this video, and I'm not going to do in this one. I'll tackle it. Again, I'm going to work on it and do something with it later. But so, in regards to the answer to the question, is you don't have to be certain of the premises to be pretty sure or pretty certain of the conclusion. But if that's the case, then you're probably going to be looking at a hypothetical syllogism anyways. You're not going to be looking at a syllogism that's a modus ponens or modus teleos, or a deductive syllogism. But those things might be present within the hypothetical syllogism that you have at hand. So if X, then Z, X, therefore Z. Okay, so is X a thing that is true? Let's find out by checking in with reality. Okay, yes, it seems that X has been true, 99 times out of 100, and so it's pretty good enough. It's close enough to say it's true. Maybe you want to hedge your bets by saying that it's probably true or most plausibly true or something like that, if you want to be careful with your language. What I've noticed with apologists is they don't have any room, it seems, for this sort of, or very little room for this sort of nuance. They cannot be wrong or uncertain about certain things. So, what is the probability that your God is just in your brain? And if you ask enough believers this, you could get an interesting data set of subjective answers of what the believers say in regards to how certain they are of their belief. And you could then, comparatively analyze that and say, okay, and then you ask atheists or deconverts or what have you, how certain of you were you of your belief, and then how certain are you now of your unbelief, and have another data set for that. And what's interesting that I've seen from, I haven't collected this data, but so you're gonna have to rely on my pitiful memory. So this is all something you should be skeptical of. But it seems that I've seen the skeptical, agnostic, atheist, whatever, the non-religious type, be more prone to saying, I'm not sure about my conclusions. I'm not sure what the answer is, or I don't even know, or I don't even hope that I know. I don't even think, I don't have any idea, not even a clue yet. I know, I wouldn't even want to quantify how much I know. Whereas the religious says, I absolutely know, this is absolutely certain, and in fact, I bet my life on it. The skeptics kind of tend to hedge their bets a bit. And then to go on a tangent, because I don't want to, now that I've kind of answered this question of how syllogism works and talking a little bit about Bayes' theorem, and this is kind of a one-off anyways, is in a chat room. I was just in a chat room hanging out. SJ was doing a thing. I just can't stop looking at this train wreck. Anyways, but somebody in the chat said, said to me that I was a child of the devil that twisted scripture interpretation. And I said, oh, that's interesting. How do you know that you're not a child of the devil and that you've actually twisted scripture to get the idea that you're now saying to me? So, couldn't it be that you're actually the devil, the child, who is twisting scripture in such a way that allows you to say that somebody else is doing that, when in fact, actually, they're not the ones doing it, but you're the one doing it. They didn't respond to that question, not even a little. All they did was threaten me with quick, that they said something that, your life is going to be short or something like that. It's like a very loving Christian message, and then this other person, calling me an idiot and all this, like, your arguments are your arguments are so persuasive. Of course it didn't have, if you have nothing but insults, you don't have any argument. And they didn't want to come and talk to me, and they said something about the swine and the pearls and all that. I'm like, well, yeah, but what about the part where it says you should always be willing to give the reason for the hope that you have? But you're a devil spawn. It's like, well, how do you know that? How do you know that you're not a devil spawn? Where does it talk about that in the Bible? What verse is that? So it kind of just reminded me that, the differences in Christians is of note to make. And I remember when I was Christian, I didn't do that directly to people, but I certainly had been guilty of doing it indirectly. Some of my older videos I've already covered where I go against myself and I explain how I was wrong. And it's like, I'm saying things that it's like, basically, atheists, you can't have good without God and all this tripe. Yeah, you can be good. There doesn't have to be a God to have a good. And in fact, what you can notice is those that think that they have God get really arrogant because they think that they're right. I'm doing what God wants, so therefore I'm higher than you in morality, and I'll always be that. Yeah, the true Christians are the ones that insult you the most, I suppose. Yeah, and the whole, and of course I had that too. Somebody said something, oh, well, if you, really got saved, you'd be in the light still. It's like, oh, so the parable of the lost sheep, that doesn't count, I guess? Like, you can't see me as a possible lost sheep? Okay. I'm sitting there and I said, I hadn't insulted you at all. You're insulting me. I don't know. It just seems to me like you're acting like the devil, and I'm not, doing anything here. I'm just here. I'm just putting forth questions and trying to get answers. Anyways, so how, kind of get back on topic. So how a syllogism is meant to function. There's a couple of them. There's modus ponens, there's modus tenens, disjunctive syllogism, hypothetical syllogism. So you have A, B, A, therefore B, and then you have A, B, B, therefore A, and you have if A, then B, A, therefore B, and then you have A or B, A, therefore B. So that covers all of them, and I probably put them out of order, and that's okay. Your homework is to put them in right order. And the Bayes Theorem is worth looking into if you're interested in that. So let's see. I got some people in chat. Hi, people in chat. No true Christian. Yeah, no true Christian fallacy and John Buck and stuff. So that's it. I think that's it, really. But if any of you want to talk to me, now we could do that. We could just turn this into a talk to deconverted man thing. Yeah, I don't care. Whatever. I got nothing else to do. I could ramble on endlessly and mindlessly about other things now. We'll see if anyone joins in within the next few moments, and if not, then I'll close this and it'll be a thing that I did. And I'll keep it up for a while. And then I'll put it into hiding because otherwise people will unsubscribe from my channel because they didn't like this single video or something. Like I got -6 subscribers. I was doing fine. I was like leveling out. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you did a video that was silly. Well, it's time to lose a subscription. I'm like, what the bleep? Oh, it's funny. Come on. This is Barbara and so on, if you're talking about categorical logic. Yeah. Here's the guy. Here's some guy. Let's put him in here.
Hey,
Wait, hold on. I gotta plug in my earphones. So if this crashes, it's Wes's fault.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Everything's always my fault.
Yeah, it's always your fault. Yeah, even when it's not.
Yeah.
C-19, Wes did it. 9/11, Wes did it. You know.
Hey, I didn't do that one.
I don't know. Where were you? Do you know?
I didn't even know about it for like a couple hours later.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I felt like
That's what the deep state wants us to. Okay, so how you doing, Wes?
I'm doing all right.
So you're Wes Student Obscure Observations.
Yeah.
That's not hard
And
to say.
I'm also the Guild of Inquiry.
Guild of Inquiry. Well, welcome to my channel.
Come
I've
on.
never had you here. I don't know that I've ever seen you post on any of
I-
my things. So,
Yeah.
welcome to
I
being
think-
here and existing with me
Yeah.
on the internets together
I
separately.
think I found you through. Were you on the Daily Atheist show?
Yes, I think I was, or I was supposed to be, and I missed it. So yeah, and then then I was on Math Pig's thing, and I was like, yeah, that idiot that missed that appointment, man, I'd hate to be him. And I made fun of myself because I had an alarm set and it didn't go off, and just things.
I may have met you through Math Pig then too.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But
So
it
I'm
popped
around.
up. So I subscribed to you a while back. And
Oh, okay, thank you.
I seen it live and thought I'd check it out. I'm in logic a little bit and philosophy. So
yeah, logic's my main focus, and I've been looking into trying to understand a little bit more about Bayes' theorem. It's really beyond me because I'm not good at math at all, but it's very interesting how it can be applied to iron out various arguments and perhaps even be used to extract truth, or at least as close to truth as we could hope to get at any rate, Yeah.
I'm a proponent, but I can't say that I understand it very well. I've just heard Richard Carrier talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, he had
The
an
Bayes Theorem,
hour-long thing. I'm going to find it after this is done, but he has an hour-long whole speech about it, and I believe it's disproving history with just disproving gods with history. I think that might be the video.
Might be. I'm not sure which one.
But at any rate, I'm going to find it later and put it in the description so that it's there. Yeah. I do that sometimes when I go live. I was like, there's this video that I'm thinking about. I'll put it in later.
Good feeling.
So, Wes, do you come from any sort of religious background, or have you always been skeptical?
Born atheist.
What are you?
Born atheist and always been agnostic atheist.
So how did that come about? Did your family just not go to religious stuff, or did you?
No, actually, when I was small, or like 8 or so, my mom actually taught Sunday school for a little while. Taught me all this stuff. I just never believed it. I just never could get into it. They just tell me this Jesus is God's son, and later they're saying it's the same person. A lot of, as far as the Trinity goes, although as a Methodist church, and then I went to a Baptist church later, I just never could believe in a God of any kind, really. I just.
How did your mom react to that? Was it?
She's actually pretty okay with it. I mean, she raised us and my dad too. He's more agnostic, I guess, now. And I had to ask him a while back because I'd go talking to him about it. Like, he's a non-believer as well. And I finally talked to him, and he's like, well, I'm agnostic. I don't know, I guess. And so he feels pretty much the same way as I do. I'm not 100% convinced of anything, but I try to stay a skeptic, agnostic, atheist, and for my lack of belief. Plus, it gives me the benefit of not having to make a claim of any kind, so that I don't have to answer it.
I don't want to give any arguments. I'm going to avoid all the claims I can make.
Yeah.
It is safer.
It's safer. Yeah. For sure.
I'm happy to say there's no Yahweh. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll make that argument. Yahweh cannot exist, does not exist. Other gods, I don't know. It depends what you got. But for the most part, none of them have really been that compelling. And for whatever reason, they all act the same way that you would expect human inventions to act.
Indeed.
So I'm not really, impressed. Yeah, I was like I said, I was in that little chat room and they were asking the question if God is good. And the sort of arrogant morality that this particular individual had, and again, not all Christians are this way. It's just this individual, and of course, even if all were, that doesn't mean the conclusion is false, because you can't know if a conclusion is false, because of a person or a group. But at any rate, I have to couch all these things carefully. That making these excuses for God's genocide. Oh, how dare you call it genocide? Well, that's what it was. You wiped out everybody. What else do you call that? Well, but those people were wicked. Okay, it's still genocide. Well, and it's like, well, what about the kids? It's like, well, but it would have been better because they get to go to heaven. How do you know that? It doesn't say that they go to heaven. It says they're all wicked. So even the babies are, but why not teleport them somewhere else? You're God. God couldn't have a better way to do this? Your God is lame. Here's what actually happened. A flood happened, or whatever happened, wiped out a whole bunch of people. Then someone later on was like, well, here's what explains why that happened. God was mad at people. There you go. So it's just, to see them try to make an argument that you can't be good without God, and then to proceed to defend God's actions in regards to genocide is shocking, to say the least.
I agree. And I can easily prove that atheists can do something good, without wanting heaven and stuff. All we have to do is quickly do something nice for someone.
Well, yeah.
We just proved it,
Yeah, there's all sorts of problems with DCT, because that's really what they're going on. They're actually, the actual argument that they should be trying to make is not whether is forget about it, because in Christianity, no one is good.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be saying, can you be good without God? They should be saying, no one is good, period. That's just cuts right to the heart of their theology. So they're not, but they're doing apologetics. So, they're going to be dishonest at some level.
They like to switch between free will and not to now, I guess. I've had a few do that, which becomes interesting as well.
Yeah, the whole free will thing doesn't really work as an excuse, because you still have the fact that the thing that made everything also made the system that decided what was right and wrong in the first place. So
did God make us with free will, and does he know about our decisions too? Becomes problem real quick.
So it doesn't really matter. It's a moot point. You made the rules, so you could have made them different. Like, oh no, God can't make the rules different. Okay, so it's not all powerful. Well, it is all powerful, but it's only powerful within its own nature. Okay, then, so its nature is an evil nature. Okay, so
it's not all loving.
Okay, like, well, no, but it's like, no, look, you gotta give up something here. So do those masks have any sort of significance or anything?
I just like them mainly.
Now see,
I've got a bunch of them that I ordered off the internet.
Make a story about how
I need to.
They're mystical and contain magical evil powers, and how you're a spawn of the devil and whatever. I don't know.
That could be fun to play with, but I'm not that dishonest.
Yeah, like, you're a spawn of the devil and you twist the scriptures. Oh, that's interesting. How do you know that you're not that?
Yeah.
No answer. It's like, oh, I know because I have the right interpretation. Oh, really?
I have the right one because they've received a special revelation.
Personal revelation. Never each other.
So they can read it properly, but I can apparently.
Yeah. So, and they also know that I do not know how to interpret it correctly. So it's really interesting. And it's like, well, wait a minute, though. But then you really start to ask questions like, well, if that's the case, let's assume that I have been deceived or am a child of, or whatever you want to put it, of evil or what have you. How am I supposed to be accountable then for not going to the system when I don't even understand the correct way to view the system now?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, but you showed that path, so God let you. It's like, whatever. Yeah, just justify your belief with more belief. Wonderful. So you mentioned Barbara. So what about Barbara?
That's a categorical form of like all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal.
Yeah, that's a modus
ponens.
Modus ponens, yes.
Yeah, but there's also like 21 or so. I think. Wait, maybe 24 valid forms that categorical logic can have that is logical. I think. I'm not sure on that though, so I was questioning that when I said that. I would have to look it up.
Yeah,
but you said there was only like 4, and I was thinking there's more.
Yeah, or I think that's it. I mean, they're. I suppose if you look, depending on how you look at it, you could say that there's other ways to format it, but those 4 forms are pretty much the standard kind of like
the ones we usually use.
Yeah, like I don't know of any others. That doesn't mean they're not out there.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got now.
I'm trying to look it up real quick, but
or modus ponens, talus, hypothetical, subjunctive. Well, okay.
Maybe there may not be as many as I was thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe
you can maybe
or maybe
a 7
out of 24 or something. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there is non-classical logic where you would have multiple other formats that don't necessarily flow, and of course, you also have the case in natural language where you're not even given an argument in any format, so you just have to kind of cobble together what you think they're trying to argue for and say, okay, well, I think that this is what you're trying to get to. I'm not sure, but, I'm doing the best with what you gave me. Quite some time ago, I talked to a guy that said that God existed because aliens could do... Well, he said aliens basically did exist, and that they are they have enough technology that you couldn't, it's so advanced that it might as well be magic, and then so because aliens existed and they kind of fit the definition of God, therefore there's a God. And I'm like, but what? I mean, to say that something is kind of it, but it isn't it. It's not it. It's like
I have the same problem with the pantheist argument.
Yeah, it's like
pretty much. I mean, if you're going to change the terms and the definition around, sure, it can be. You could say the universe is God, right? But it doesn't gain you anything. It doesn't.
Yeah. Why
explain anything more than you just change the definition?
Yeah, I asked him. I said, "Well, does this matter to you that we call it God? Why not just call it what it is, aliens, blah blah blah?" And he's like, "Well, because it matches the definition." I'm like, "Well, but it really doesn't." But okay, whatever. And I never really
doesn't change anything.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We're not arguing that aliens don't exist. We're
So I think that there was some, I intuit that there was some sort of emotional attachment or reason for it, but I never got to the bottom of it. And so that was that conversation. Oh well, whatever. I don't know. Whatever happened to him. Yeah. Almost as interesting as God being zero. That was a whole nother thing. That was.
I haven't heard that one. I guess that's a new one.
I heard that one. Yeah. He explained it, and after he explained it, I still didn't understand it. So
I have heard that a black hole is God.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean,
that was an interesting conversation.
I mean, that's the thing with the word is, it could, if you can make it be whatever you want, then it then it doesn't really have any coherent meaning. In that regards, I guess I'm an atheist in regards to the word itself, because I just don't see it as having any coherent definition. No, you might get a majority that agrees to a definition, but even there's going to be so much nuance. It's unlike the scientific method. I've wondered what would happen if somebody took theology, like one theology, and tried to make a scientific approach to doing it, like peer-reviewed papers where it's like, okay, this is going to be the version of this verse that we're all going to agree to. And what would happen? Would you wind up with no Bible, or would you wind up with like one sentence, or like would you never get it off the ground, or sort of? And it's puzzling and maybe telling that nobody has done that.
Yeah. Well, theologians try to do that all the time, but not many of them. Not many of them are agnostic atheists. Not many of them are very skeptical, and I think therefore you get these people going in there believing already that there's a historical Jesus, that so many things in the Bible are fact that they haven't asked the question yet. They haven't come at it from a skeptic position, because who goes in there and in theology without some beliefs already?
Right. So
there's just not that many of them. Richard Carrier and Robert Price, I think, are exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, because it's a lot of time to invest in something.
Yeah.
It's like that classic, well, why do you talk about God if you don't believe in it question?
Yeah.
So why do you talk about this stuff if you don't believe in
it? Curiosity. I like mythology. I have a good community of atheist friends, partly for the community, I think. And I like a lot of the other things too. So it's not just religion that I talk about.
Oh yeah, it's a good. It's a fascinating topic, because it is an attempt by humanity to answer questions that we have. Yeah. I just
think Thales and other scientists, philosophers and scientists along the way have done a lot better job.
Yeah, I just tend to think that every time we it seemed that some scientist somewhere kind of gave up and said it's God, that was their end of their science. Like they didn't keep looking, they didn't keep digging. And this apologist had some doctor on that was is a scientist, and he's really super old. And I was like, well, how many peer-reviewed publications does this guy have? Because I just kind of wonder, like, once he got into the theology and the apologetic stuff, what happened to his science stuff? Because he can sit there and say the Big Bang proved God all he wants, but that's not a scientific statement, and it can't be. It can never be that, because God isn't unless you want God to be a thing that is findable in science, or think God could be found, which would make God natural, which would. I don't have a problem with that. If that's what it is, great, but then, he doesn't do that. He doesn't use science. He uses the typical bad arguments. And so you go, well, okay, whoopee-doo. You're a scientist, but you might as well not be, because you're not even using that. It's like, oh, I'm a car mechanic and I never repair cars,
Yeah. That's something Neil deGrasse Tyson says. I've heard him say several times, is he has no problem with religion most of the time. It's the ones that go into his teaching room or a science lab and then bring that God with them inside the lab or something.
Yeah.
That's when he has a problem.
Yeah, he only wants to be a scientist. He doesn't want to be an atheist or any considered any other ist other than scientist. And I thought that because that's his realm of advocacy, and I think, hey, more power to you. You're a science advocate. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, that's something I like about him is actually more that he's into science and stuff, which I am as well. So
yeah, I mean,
instead of going on just an atheist, and becoming famous atheist, that's not as noble, I think, as teaching education logic. That's why I opened up your channel real quick because I thought maybe we could get into syllogisms, logic, and
yeah, sure.
and stuff too.
Anything you want to talk about for logic, sure, absolutely. Yeah. I'm all about that stuff because I call myself an amateur logician because I know some stuff. I don't think I mean, maybe more than others, probably less than some, but there's a number of things. So, is there anything in particular that you were thinking of or wondering about?
I'm trying to learn predicate logic right now.
Okay.
What?
Ooh, yummy. Well, okay, that's kind of mathematical more than anything else.
Yeah.
So
I've went through most trying to learn fallacies and stuff, and something I found was then I was just memorizing fallacies.
Yeah,
I wasn't getting at the root of logic or really, and then it becomes I'm just calling out your fallacy that you just committed.
Yeah.
Instead of addressing the argument itself.
Right. Well, I mean,
you got to call people out, yes, but I mean, you also want to get past the point of just making logical fallacies and find, do they have anything beyond that? Is there any merit in what they're saying, whether it's fallacy or not? Is there any merit in what they've said?
Right. Yeah. When I say logic, I usually am referring to informal logic, which is a subset of formal logic, where arguments are given in natural language, and then you have to kind of deduce or analyze what the person's saying because they're not necessarily putting it in a syllogism. And most of my videos, when I take my time to do it, just count up how many fallacies have been done. But I don't just say here's the fallacy. I also explain why it was wrong, how it was wrong, and ways that they could have maybe fixed it. But
I think both are important. Actually, it's just it depends what kind of approach you're taking. If it's a debate or I've done several debates, 16 or so, in Facebook groups.
Yeah,
I'm a moderator and admin in a bunch of them. So, and some of them we have debates every once in a while, and it's quite a intellectual exercise, I've found.
Yes,
you have to really think about some of the stuff while you're doing it. Most of the time, I don't do as good a job as I should, but even almost all of them, I try to look up some stuff, make a syllogism or a standard form argument, just to make it easy for everybody to see. Hey, my stuff is real here. My argument's real. I'm not just bullshitting you with a bunch of words to get your vote.
Right. Well, with propositional logic, one thing I can talk about in regards to that is the truth tree, which I brought up every now and again on my channel, a truth table, because this is something. If you somebody had the statement that arguments are not evidence, for example, because I was talking about that, and this is something you could put into a truth table and show that it has to be true by brute force, that
I like that proportional.
Yeah, it's a logical statement. It's like all there are no married bachelors. It's just that's the way it brute force, but it's a way to show, to graph out that the statement is true and it can't not be true, rather than just saying, well, but that's just the way it is. And there's been attempts to use truth tables to prove God. They don't work, but there's been attempts. But I find that as more that when people actually go to more trouble to try to do it, at least that's something. It's like here's the Kalam for the millionth time. You lazy, just give me something to work with, But typically, you have to really look for that. You have to really search it out. But yeah, propositional is sort of, if this is, is this something more plausibly true than this? And you would get into truth trees there, and you would get into also the symbolic format, which I'm not super fan of, because the symbols, you can kind of get lost in, what the bleep am I looking at? I'm looking at, this little tree tail with P and pointing at Q. Bleep am I looking at? It's like,
I've been wanting to learn it because there is some benefit, I think, to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you program your mind to look at these symbols, and you also, and when you do that, you also, well, you just end up thinking more logically about everything you do, because you're always putting stuff in the mathematical formulas and checking it out, testing it. Well, does this work or not? And
Right.
you're constantly thinking about it. So just in that alone, I think you improve your logic. But
absolutely.
But I think there's a lot to be said about your informal fallacies and things like that too.
Yeah. There's about at least 1,000 some odd informal fallacies that can be made, and a handful of formal fallacies. And the formal fallacies are, in a way, less important, because they're more about whether the person even understands how logic works. Like, they broke the rules. Like, they're not playing by the rules, and they don't even know that they're not playing by the rules.
No.
But those I point those out as well. And, I go, well, this, it's of note, because they should know how to make a better argument. For example, one guy, I'm looking at this book, I'm going to be doing a video series on it. He's got 17 premises. No.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's just it's how are they written out, and is there?
If
did he do the math right?
No, there's no math at all done here, and he doesn't do it right, and also he doesn't clarify that he's not using an Aristotelian form of logic. He's using a different form of logic, completely
logic or something.
I forget the terminology. I want to say group hypothesis, group something or another, but it's not the typical Aristotelian format. And so that, okay, but you got to let people know that you're not using it. And then he's got things like premise 1 and 2 are true in a premise. Like, no, that would be a conclusion, and you would do full stop, and then you'd have another argument. You wouldn't keep, it's bad. It's just badly formatted. So that's the formal fallacy. But who cares? What about the informal parts? And that's, of course, what we'll be covering. But yeah, it's you get to this. It is an intellectual undertaking, and it's not something that, I've been reading this thing, the Descartes, or Descartes, however you want to say that guy. Descartes. Descartes, man.
It's just a fresh
name, so. And he had a critique of syllogisms, in that he was essentially saying that you can't find out new information with it. You can't. You kind of already know before you make the argument whether or not the thing is true. Like so you don't really maybe even need the syllogism per se. And
sometimes a Venn diagram is enough to just
so. But what he was saying is something that I've expressed many times, that once that you're going to have to look into reality at some point to find out if the darn thing is true. So logic has a limit to it, to what it can do. You can have a brilliant argument, but then the only way you're going to figure out if the premises are true or not is to look into reality. So you get to this point where you wonder, there's probably no way to make a valid and sound argument for something that's not real because of epistemology being that there has to be some coherent method to discover that the thing is real. And that coherent method cannot be the argument itself, because that would just make the whole thing circular. If arguments were evidence, then you wouldn't need evidence because you'd have arguments, for example.
I think it's a useful tool, but like you were saying, I can see how things like existence can be used as a predicate.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of going at as far as Anselm's ontological argument.
Yeah, you have to have reality be real before you can go anywhere else.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with that argument.
Yeah, reality has.
And I think there's probably every one of those premises pretty much has a argument against it.
Yeah,
over the years, there's been so many people that's tackled that one. So,
ontological, are you talking about?
Anselm's, yeah.
Anselm.
Yeah, look up Anselm's ontological argument sometime. That's a fun one.
Covered it.
I did it in a college class one time.
Yeah,
online college class, I guess.
I've covered it probably on in one of my many videos because somebody somewhere has probably done it. Right. The greatest pizza must exist. Right.
Yeah.
There was a cat.
And then you have the analogy of the island that kind of that's enough to disprove it.
Well, I granted it in full to a Catholic guy that I'd spoken to. I said, I'll grant you the whole argument, but the problem is I can think of a better God than yours. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, my God is one that also reveals itself to all of humanity in a way that nobody could misunderstand or misconstrue what God it is. And that God has not yet revealed itself to all of humanity, therefore God does not exist. And he didn't like that at all. Well, either the argument, you have to take it, because either that is the greatest conception of God or your argument fails. Which is it going to be? So I kind of
that's a good one. I mean, that's a clever way to approach it.
Yeah, because you can always add in, plus one and go, well, my version is better because it does this thing, and I consider that to be better. Yeah. I consider revealing your intentions globally, if you have the ability to do that, to be better. I mean,
that's why we have the divine hiddenness argument.
Yeah, well, then if it's so well hidden, then it might as well be.
And he's not all loving, or if he can't, then he's not all powerful.
Yeah, and if he really wants a relationship, I don't see what value being hidden helps in that endeavor at all. It's like, well, I've had girlfriends like that, Oh yeah, my girlfriend who nobody's ever met. Yeah, she's really beautiful and smart. And she can do anything. She'll fly around, and she'll be here next Thursday. Yeah.
That doesn't disprove a deist God, but it does raise some doubts on a Christian God, I think.
Yeah, deist.
So far,
so it just is like, well, but again, why not just say the universe? Why not just say
pantheism? But
yeah, because nature, without capitalizing nature, it seems that that's what we have. That there's some natural stuff that happened, and we don't know why. And then even though there isn't an after because time hasn't been a thing yet, then all of a sudden time was a thing, and then we have after that stuff happened.
Yeah.
I like how it's portrayed in the History of the World, I guess, video.
I don't think I've seen that, but
okay. Well, that's that. We got to fix that.
Send me a link and I'll check that out.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's History of the Entire World, I guess.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. History of the entire world, I guess. Okay.
So I'll play a little and tell me if the sound is horrible on your side, and if it is, I'll give you the link regardless. But
Yeah.
Let me know if you can hear it.
That's fine. Yeah.
Hi, you're on a rock, floating in space. Pretty cool, huh? Some of it's water. Fuck it. Actually, most of it's water. I can't even...
Okay, can you hear that well? Yeah. Is it like lagging or anything? Or
no, it's playing fine.
Okay.
Even get from here to there without buying a boat. It's sad. I'm sad. I miss you. How did this happen? A long time ago, actually never, and also now, nothing is nowhere. When? Never. Makes sense, right? Like I said, it didn't happen. Nothing was never anywhere. That's why it's been everywhere. It's been so everywhere, you don't need a where. You don't even need a when. That's how every it gets.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
Forget
Pretty
this.
much.
I want to be something. Go somewhere. Do something. I want things to change. I want to invent time and space. And I know it's possible because everything is here and it probably already happened. I just don't know when to start. And that's exactly where it started. Oh, I paused it. I think there's a universe now. What's it made of? Quarks and stuff. Ah, that's
okay. There you go. So that's the beginning, if you will, coached in rather poetic ways. But there's no other really. That's really it. Oopsie. As far as what we can do, I think is nowhere was nowhere, anytime, all the time, everywhere, forever. Like what? Like, yeah, there you go. And then just boom, now there's stuff, you know. Yeah. And so within the 19 minutes and 25 seconds, he covers the history of the world, and it's amazing. So that's in chat now. But yeah, well worth. There it goes. Well worth a check out. It's really it's something that some history teachers have actually shown in class, apparently, and you know, he did it before this. He had a video called "History of Japan" that was quite in depth. So he did this some months later, and this got, you know, was a huge hit of his. But he kind of just makes videos whenever he feels like it. Yeah. But you know, this was the most educational one by far. And you know, when you know, I was yelling and losing my mind at this apologist that did, you know, well, you know, in the beginning there wasn't anything, and we know that nothing comes from nothing. I was like, no, you don't know anything about nothing because you've never seen a nothing. Yeah. We have not observed a true nothing. I don't even know if we could observe it.
Yeah, you know? I think a lot of people go off Richard Krauss's book he wrote.
Yeah,
but they only read the title. They don't get what nothing he was talking about.
The true state of nothing.
I don't think that he wasn't talking about a true nothing. I don't think.
Well, it's as close.
I haven't read the book either, other than just listening to it on IP or MP3. But
yeah, it's as close to when you remove all the things, you're still left with stuff. So you can't. Yeah. Apparently, you can't ever get rid of all the things. Like you could never get, or if you could get a philosophical nothing, we don't know how. And since we've never observed this nothing, there is literally no statement that we can make about it because we don't know what it can and can't do because we don't have it to mess with, you know. So, you know, we don't have nothing around anymore. We have all sorts of stuff. So, you know, William Lane Craig has said, well, you've never seen a horse appear just out of nowhere. Like, yeah, but your God could do that because apparently it made the universe out of what? All that existed was God. So what did God make the universe out of, if not itself? Nothing. Okay, so why is it okay for God to do it, but it's not okay for nothing to do it?
Or they say he lived outside of space and time.
Right, which gives him no place and no time to do anything.
Doesn't make sense either.
Exist anymore. Great. All right.
And you just got to get out of the gaps, I think.
Yeah, it boils down to that. Do you find it in your area to be hard to be open as an atheist, or is this something that's rather easy, or do you even bother with it?
I don't think it was. I grew up being able to say I was atheist, so it's not that bad. It's not. I'm in Missouri, northern Missouri. Southern Missouri would probably be a lot worse, but the South, I think, is probably the worst there is to be. But I don't know. I haven't really been around to compare it.
Hmm.
I think it does. There is some stigma on it and stuff, but I mean, it's not a danger in my life or
Hmm.
just a danger in my friendships. Danger in my friendships.
C-19 has kind of replaced all the things to worry about. So
Yeah.
there's a much bigger threat than
Yeah.
pesky atheists now for people to
Yeah.
contend with.
People don't ask me if I eat babies or anything like that. So, you know,
all the time.
yeah. Yeah, we get them for Planned Parenthood. And
yeah. I mean,
we make sacrifices
them
to our
to heaven.
gods, you know, Satan and Dawkins.
Well, it's good though. I'm sending them to heaven, so it's fine, you know.
Yeah. Have my baby back ribs.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, nerdy rodent, there's a person to eat right now. Nom nom nom.
Oh, I know him a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We know you a little bit.
online.
Make sure to eat you. Yeah. Do you have things on your channel, or you just kind of like floaty around?
We started doing things about 2 months ago.
Okay.
So we discussed some things. Yeah, we discussed very wide range of things. We did our first one on Banana Girl freely. That we did on her living in the forest and her diet. She's a frugivore, she claims.
That sounds appealing.
Yeah. So then we've done abortion, gun control. Tomorrow morning, we'll actually, if you want me showing out, I'm doing one with the atheist mama, Amanda, on climate change. So looking forward to that one.
I wasn't done making banana jokes. You moved on too quick.
Yeah. Sorry.
And yellow. I don't know, man. Oh, well.
You just slipped up on it anyway.
Sorry. It's a slippery slope. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just split with that for now.
Yeah.
Before monkey. Okay. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah. I think that it's great to see kind of more people, almost, if you will, kind of come out of the woodwork. It feels like lately, where it's like the old guard has faded away. I'm desperately clinging on as part of like the midway guard, and now new people are coming, and that's fine. I don't care anymore. I'll be obsolete. I have my own stuff to do, But everyone has a certain niche that they can fill, I think, and mine is the informal logic bit, and others will have other bits. You might have the mathematics one because maybe you're so
mathematics.
I'll be like, okay, fine. Here's the theorem. Do this and figure this out for me.
Yeah.
So, all right, Wes. Thank you for coming in. Anything? Yeah. Anything else? If you wanted me to look at a particular video argument or whatever and analyze it, I'll certainly.
We could go over Bayesian thinking.
Do what now?
Bayesian
thinking. Let's see.
If you want to, that or I've got other things I can do too. But I was just curious what you had to say about it. Bayes theorem.
Oh, Bayes theorem. Let's see. The Bayesian, right? The Bayesian philosophy. Well, this is something I haven't even really scratched the surface on because it does go into the realm of mathematics, which I don't do math. Yeah, this is whereas the informal logic is more geared towards language in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't deal too much with probabilities. It just looks at the basic format of modus ponens, teleos, and so on, and says, what logical fallacies are there? And that's it. The Bayesian thinking and that stuff is more about deducing or finding out the probability of any given statement. And it can be used within the syllogisms if you wanted to, or even probably better used outside of that to just say, how probable is this idea? And then you can give, and what's interesting about it is you can give them all sorts of benefits of the doubt. You can give them huge numbers, and then still it reduces down to like, improbable, things. But of course, people have said, they say, well, the fine tuning of the universe shows blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, but the universe isn't fine tuned for life. Life is fine tuned for the universe. It's not, there's,
you got it right there. It's the other way around.
Will kill you. Therefore, the universe is fine tuned for life. No. If 100% of the universe was for life, then yeah. But it's the other way around. So yeah, here's another thing on Baines stuff that I've got. I put that in chat. But yeah, I still have to work on that, because it will be a video at some point, hopefully, along with all the other things that I might do at some point. But I got nothing there. That's beyond my field now. I'm with the verbal stuff. You give me you give me those syllogisms, I'll eat those all day.
Yeah.
Priors for everything. I'll eat it, nerdy. I don't even know what you're saying. Words. I don't even know what your words mean anymore. All right, I'm gonna go. Now, but this was cool. This was a thing I did. I'll leave this on for a while, and it will be a thing that people can. I don't know what they'll do. All right,
maybe you can get nerdy rodent.
Yeah, I'll get nerdy rodent. We're gonna.
If you want.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go. All right. So check out. Well, Wes doesn't have a channel to check out, but when he does,
I do.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. Guild of Inquiry.
What?
Guild of Inquiry.
Guild of Inquiry. Can you put that in the little chat here, and I'll put it in the description and things after I'm done with it.
Yeah,
we'll make it a thing. Word. Words are hard.
They can be, yeah.
Words are soft. I don't know. What is a word?
Have you been spending time on my channel? That's pretty much what we do. We question everything to pieces.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. You want to come on sometime?
Sure.
Let's see. I don't know who's doing the scheduling and stuff, but
you didn't put that in the little chat there.
Oh, I put it in live chat or private chat. Private chat.
Oh,
for some reason I can't put it in the live comments.
There is a oh, there it is. I see it. Oh, because you don't have a thingy.
Yeah.
All right. There's that. There's the guy. There's Wes. Go subscribe to him. Ask him about Star Trek, because I'm sure he hasn't heard questions about Star Trek: The Next Generation and what it was like on the Enterprise. He's all grown up. He looks totally different, but I think that they went through a wormhole or something, and that's why he's been the Traveler for a while. And for the people that don't watch The Next Generation, none of this makes Wesley Crusher. You see, he's a character on Star Trek. I'm done.
Okay. I wonder where you were going with that. I do like Star Trek, but
yeah, it's like, what are you talking about?
Don't make me choose between Star Trek and Star Wars. I can't do that. I can't choose.
It's the only question that I ever thought was hard was, do I like Kirk or like Picard?
Oh, that too. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I can't because I'm white and nerdy. All right. Take care, man. Go check him out. I'm out of here. I don't know what I'm gonna. Bye, everybody. And then I exploded. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. Lobsters. Okay, I said the lobsters. Hit the button, you idiot. No, shut up. Stop talking to yourself. I'm not. No. Okay, there's the button.